a bid opening this evening. This is on the actual installation of a fence at the Niagara Sanitation landfill. And with the news of the testing results that were produced last week, this fence becomes even more important for future generations. So, Tim, if you want to announce the results of the bid.
So there were 3 bids submitted.
Tim, can you come to the mic up here, please?
There were 3 bids submitted. The first bid was from New York State Fence Incorporated, and their bid amount was $106,800. The second bid was from Woodsmith Fence Corporation, and their bid was for $153,800. And the third bid was from Fox Fence, and their bid was for $219,500. So Wendell will call the apparent low bidder, which is New York State Fence, make sure they have a complete understanding of the specs of the work, and prepare a recommendation for the next town board meeting for award.
Okay, very good. And you do think that they still can get this done this year? Was that actually in the bid spec?
They wanted us to wait till they had their presence monitoring plan done, but they thought that would be in August. So by the time we get this awarded, and then they get their contracts and everything together, notice the proceed won't be ready until probably beginning of December.
Okay. Public input. Brian, has anybody signed up?
Hi, I'm Dave Collins. I live at 7154 Ward Road. I just wanted to make a comment about last week and the Kruger Road situation and some of the things that were said. I was cutting my grass yesterday, and I observed a person walking with their back to traffic on Kruger Road with a headset on. I mean, some things and it was an adult female, probably in her 30s or so. I mean, you're not going to overcome that kind of stuff with almost anything. And the other side of it is when you were accused of not doing anything to make Kruger Road safer. I've lived there for 57 years. I grew up there from 2 years old on. And when we moved in, the speed limit was 40 miles an hour with no stop sign. We used to have teenagers drag racing. Over the years, we've actually had over 5 cars come into our yard and do damage, taking down trees and things. The town actually put a stop sign in many years ago at Mavis. That helped some. Then they reduced the speed to 35 miles an hour, and then as you built and added more roads and stuff, then you added more stop signs, and then you reduced the speed to 30 miles an hour. So over the time, for you guys to be accused of not doing anything, you've actually done things to try and make the roads safer. And if you drive around the town, there are roads all over this town that are narrow. Stieg Road is a fine example, because Eric Road's right there and the kids go down to the playground. That's a narrow road. Schultz Road's narrow. People have to be aware of that and take precautions themselves. It can't just be put on you guys, because when you look around, Whitmer Road is narrow, and it would be a danger when people are walking on it. They've got to pay attention to the traffic. You know, I mean, how much can we afford to expand all these roads and add all sidewalks? I mean, like was said last week, this isn't a city, it's a town. And people have to be aware and be responsible for their own safety when they're, walking on our streets and doing things on our streets. I'm all for, if you can afford it and make things safer, yes, do it. But again, people have to take responsibility for their own actions too. But like I said, I've lived there for so long, and I've seen over and over again, people don't take their own care when they're on the road and operating stuff. I mean, when you're wearing headsets and stuff, you're totally oblivious to the traffic around you. And you got to pay attention. If a car has a hiccup, like a mechanical failure or anything, if your back's to it, you're not going to see it. You're going to get taken out. So hopefully people will be more aware. But, again, it's a town where there are going to be narrow roads. So I hate to see anybody get hurt on anything. And if you can widen the road and make it safer, that's a great thing. But again, people need to be taking care of themselves too. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Brian?
Randy, last week you stated that 70% of the town residents were against the Kruger Road sidewalk. 70%? 70? Is that what you said on the news? Okay.
I'm not sure my exact words, but quite a few people are, yes.
Well, on the news you
overwhelming
said
res-
70%.
Is that what I said? Okay.
Okay. So I went back and I looked at the figures for the 2010 census when we had 18,117 residents. Registered voters, 12,000. When you deduct 662 petition signatures from those figures and do 70%, based on the census, which does have children in it, you're talking 12,218 people. On the registered voter side, you have 7,936 people that are all against the sidewalks. So with that 70% that you were quoted on the news, we're supposed to believe that 7,936, upwards to 12,218 residents contacted this board to say no to the sidewalks. I want to see where are the petitions, the emails, the letters, the call logs for all these people. How many people did you actually speak to in person? And I'm sure there are no records. Voters don't even turn out in these numbers for elections. The general election of 2015 had 3,000 voters. The presidential election of 2016 had 8,000 voters. Yet 70% turned out to say no to the sidewalk. The entire process last week was all contrived, and many people have said so. And as far as I'm concerned, at this point in time, none of you are credible. I don't know where you can just come up with 70% when Kelly and Debbie and the rest of their family went out door to door, got petition signatures. Yet none of these people, there's no emails, there's no petition signatures from them. And I just don't understand where you can just draw 70% out when they actually did the work and got the numbers and got the signatures.
Brian?
Mr. Cliff, Councilman, on behalf of the Western New York Firemen's Association, we'd like to thank you for the cooperation. As you know, next week is the Firemen's Convention here on the Town Hall campus. We'd like to come and thank you for your cooperation and for allowing us to hold the convention. I'd like to take 1 minute of your time to just cover some of the highlights. Remember, the convention is open to the public. All residents are welcome and invited to come and partake in the convention and what goes on. We will have a tent. We'll have live bands with libation in the tent available for purchase. Thursday night, we have a band starting at 8 o'clock. Widowmaker. Friday, we have Black Widow Band. Saturday, we have the 90 West Band. They all start at 8 o'clock. There's the Fireman's Parade starting at 7 o'clock down Ward Road. We've had great cooperation from the department heads. We'd like to thank them. Mike, I know Paul's not here tonight. Richie, everybody's helped out getting us ready to get ready for the convention, and for that we have a token of your appreciation for you guys for doing that. And if somebody needs some flyers or like to come out and see the bands or the other things that happen, like the firemen's competition that happens down at the church at St. John's, noon Saturday, and of course then the memorial service and the Fireman of the Year Award start at 9 a.m. down at the church there. But we have these for you guys. Thank you.
Also, in addition to what Bruce had to say, I've been involved with the Firemen's Convention the past 3 times. It's an honor for it to come to Western New York. The other thing is, as far as the economy, this is a heck of a boost to the economy. There's going to be several thousand firemen here. Every hotel, motel, for probably 5 to 10 miles in both directions are going to be full. along with the restaurants and stuff, this is a heck of a boost to the economy in this area.
Bruce, thank you very much, and thanks to any fireman who's involved in this convention. Ryan, did anybody else sign up? Does anybody else have anything they wish to bring up? Sean?
Evening. As we talked about last week was the Hunt Street Bridge closure. I was hoping that we could do a little more investigation with the county and find out why we're at where we're at. I mean, I don't think any bridge should be closed before there's a plan to either permanently close it or open it, but somehow we got here. And I know this is not your fault or responsibility, but I have to go through the town because I can't get anywhere with the county. So what I'm hoping you guys can do, as a board, if it has to be a motion or you can just make some investigative phone calls, is find out what our options are for this bridge. If permanent closure and a turnaround is where we're going to get somewhere, or if a new bridge is likely, I'd just like to pursue it and make sure the county knows. It sounds like there's a stumbling block somewhere and the county's kind of putting this off. And I think it's, from my talkings with the county, it's a bridge to nowhere. It's not a necessary bridge, so it's way down on their list. But if we could just start the process of investigation going so we can get somewhere with it in the quickest possible way, it's a start. And I'd like to be involved in that and keep, you know, and be aware, since I'm one of 3 owners on that street and most affected. I would like to get moving on it so we don't have to look at flashing lights forever. Anything we can do here would be greatly appreciated.
We do have 2 board members not present tonight, but I'm pretty sure we will pass a motion this evening to ask our county representatives to help us out. Dave is here today, so he certainly will understand. Becky Whittish I've already spoken to. She can't be here this evening, but she is now aware of it. She will probably want to talk to you, Sean, if you want to leave your phone number with Kathy so that Becky can get to you, or if you want to call her, you could do that.
Sure.
She has your territory, so that's actually in her territory.
Okay.
Dave's territory is indifferent, but he is with the town and he is with the county certainly. And
Okay. Approach him afterwards.
and the object, I believe the county's plan is to wait until they get a grant to rebuild the bridge. That's my understanding, and that could be 1 year, that could be, if it's a tips list, it could be 5, 6 years down the road.
Yeah, and that, well, my
problem-
problem is, like I said, I'm not affected if it's a dead end, and I'm not affected if it's a bridge. I'm affected by all the lights flashing at the end of my street.
Yeah, I think
So
I
a
think
5-year,
the
6-year
problem-
wait's not practical.
To me, I think the biggest problem is the buses have to go down there and back out, and they won't do it, so they won't go down there. I can't imagine what Modern's doing to get down into the one corner by the 2 houses. And also, what's the third one? Oh, recycling also. Not just garbage, but recycling also. They have no way of getting in there.
Well,
Even
they've
snow-
all
even
found, it's
snowplowing
only
is gonna be
500
tough.
feet, Bob. I mean, it's 500 foot from my furthest, it's actually 400 feet
Yeah,
from my door, and I'm the furthest to the corner. Kids can walk. But everybody's found a way around it, so it's not that. It's just that right now it's at a stalemate, so we're just trying to further it along.
Snowplow doesn't want to back up that far, and there's no turnaround. We'd have to create a
Right.
turnaround
Correct.
somewhere. It's just not an easy solution other than fixing the bridge.
Right. I'll leave my name and everything after the meeting.
If you want to leave it with Kathy, then I can have Becky contact you. If you want to, you can contact Becky, whichever you
After the
prefer.
meeting, to move things along here? Okay.
Okay, thank you, Sean. Anybody else? Okay, Kathy, 2 members are not here this evening. Art wasn't feeling well, and Larry had a death in the family. So my understanding is we can proceed with 3 board members. It's just to pass, we have to have 3 votes. Okay. We do have a set of minutes from the July 10th meeting. Does anybody wish to move those in for approval?
So moved.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Anything on the question? Anything anybody wishes to change? If not, then all in favor, signify by stating aye.
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 Any opposed? They are approved. The bill pay this week, $398,200.20. The voucher number is 2017-1189 through 1263. I need a motion to put these in to pay these bills.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any bills anybody wishes to hold? If not, then all in favor signify by stating aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, that's approved to pay the bills. Paul is on vacation this week. Rich is here. Anything going on with the water sewer, Rich? Anybody have anything for Rich? Are all the problems now solved at, the replacement pump unit over at, what is it, Jago Road? Jago and Plaza? Not enough water? Anything else for Rich? Mike, recreation? Randy, you had sent a note around about the sidewalk, the walkways over at the park. Is there anything you want to say on that?
I just don't like walking through water when I try to go watch a softball game Friday night. That's all. I guess we should have looked at it a little harder. I thought we had engineers on it that would have built a walking path higher than the ground next to it, but at this point, just disappointment on my end, that's all.
Thank you. Mike is not here. Jamie, do you want to speak for Paul? Do you have anything? Anything for highway? Arlene, we're up to you. How many days you getting kicked out of the community center? Okay. Would have thought it was only Thursday and Friday. Maybe Saturday. Meet at my house. You can meet at my house if you want. Tim, anything from Wendell?
We have the planning board report. I assume Tim reads through this, the meeting?
He brings us the highlights.
Okay, so there was 2 meetings to report on. June 21st meeting, there was a sketch plan presented by Moog on Walmore Road. They're planning to build a couple new buildings and a new access drive, which will create approximately 100 additional jobs, 50 at this facility and 50 at their facility in East Aurora. There was no action taken. There was a few comments, so that is in process. Also on June 21st, there was a site plan for Dollar General. The applicant is proposing to construct a 7,489 square foot Dollar General store at 3887 Mapleton Road. I believe that is the northeast corner of Mapleton and Shawnee. And the site will have access from Shawnee Road and will include landscaping and parking for 30 cars. All the planning board's comments were addressed. The planning board issued a negative declaration under seeker and approved the site plan with noted conditions and contingent upon engineering review. And the final item at the June 21st meeting was a site plan provided by Horizon Village. They're proposing to construct an additional 16,880 square foot 25-room young adult facility at 6298 Indicon Drive East. The facility will be very similar to the facility recently constructed on the adjacent property on Indicon Drive East, and they addressed the planning board's concerns. The planning board issued a negative declaration under seeker and approved the special use permit and site plan with some conditions and also contingent upon engineering review. So that was the June 21st meeting. On July 12th rather, there was one agenda item and that was a rezoning, consideration for Woodlands patio homes that's on Forest Parkway. And the applicant in this case is proposing to rezone approximately 42 acres of land in the Woodlands Corporate Center expansion from M1 to PUD to construct patio homes. The newest plan presented to the planning board proposes only 48 patio home lots. Previously there were 61 proposed. And the 48 will represent no increase in density over what would normally be allowed. The plans also eliminated a previously proposed private cul-de-sac and private loop road, and proposed setbacks were increased. There's some additional modifications that may be required based on comments made at that meeting, and so no action was taken. So that is the planning board report.
Okay, anything else?
The next item is there was a PIP application submitted for Eagle Chase subdivision, Phase 2. 12 single-family lots for the board's consideration. And last is a proposal relative to Kruger Road.
Any questions for Tim? Then we shall move on to regular motions, Matt.
The first motion in the motion packet is that one that Tim just referenced from Wendell regarding the PIP application, Phase 2 of Eagle Chase subdivision. Before I read that, I know we don't have the full board here tonight, but and we don't have our highway superintendent and GHD, our drainage engineers. I know there was perhaps a thought of having a meeting to discuss that, and with regard to the other drainage problems there before considering this motion. I'd be glad to read the motion, but on the other hand, if the board wants to entertain those meetings first, I can hold off on it.
It would be nice to have the view of our highway superintendent before we proceed with that. And Dave had some ideas in the drainage plan that might be worthy of taking a look at and working together with Gary, to work together with Roselle to see if we can make some improvements. Everything there seems to be built according to specification. The specification that seems to be changing is the number of and the weight of rain. Just a second, Gary, I'll let you. The 25-year flood requirement that the town has, we've had two 400-year floods over there, or 500. I think Tim called one of them a 500-year flood, and a 100-year flood in 4 years. In 4 years. And the subdivision can't handle it. It wasn't flooded very long this year, but it did flood again this year in a much smaller storm. Gary?
Yeah, I mean, with the 12 lots, I don't think there's any issue, and I think Tim can verify that we have done everything over the years that the town has asked us to do. In the meantime, they put the culvert under Lockport Road, there was a lot of improvements made. We've been with for many years. We had that 4 or 5 inches of rain, I think in an hour, and the road had a little bit of water in it, gone in and out. So everything that is done there, I think it's about as far as it can go. Really nothing else that we can do, and I don't think there's anything town can do any different. And that being a true subdivision is kind of hard for me to believe that you would hold us up on 12 lots.
It's not a matter of holding up unless 3 weeks makes that much difference, because the next meeting's August 7th. We should be able to get the opinion of our engineer by then and the opinion of our highway superintendent. I think what I'd like to do is to work with you. I think the town can work with you and see if there are improvements that can be made, whether it's at the town expense or not. But it's not handling the number of floods that's going on now.
What have you heard of besides that 5 inches of rain we had over the past 2 years?
It flooded this year. It did flood in that one larger rain that we had earlier this year.
And that's when we had 5 inches of rain in such a short period of time, and the road was drying out.
It wasn't an hour, but it was several hours, you know. It was dry by midnight.
We've done everything the town has asked. Tim knows we've been on the site, never walked away from it. We've done all the different changes that we can do. A lot of it had to do with the town and state, I believe, and they did improve the crossing, they put a new crossing in, and I know the town did
I think
some
another
cleaning of this.
big thing was cleaning out
And
that
that
ditch.
made a huge, huge, huge difference. So I know there's nothing else we can do, but maybe there's something else the town can do. And
Exactly.
continue cleaning that ditch, but there's nothing else we can do. And this phase really has nothing, doesn't even tie into where that comes from.
Considering how long it's been sitting there, is 3 weeks gonna make a difference?
Was that?
Considering how long it's been sitting there, is 3 weeks gonna make a difference?
Well, yeah, because you know how fast summer goes, but you're not gonna pass it, so bottom line is, yeah, summer goes by really, really quick.
If we did hold to have a meeting with, the engineers and Paulie and the other board members, could Gary be part of the meeting?
I guess
We
that's
could
up,
all meet together?
I guess that's up to the board.
But,
I don't know. I wanna make it work for everybody.
I mean, if there is gonna be a majority of the board there, it would have to be considered a public meeting anyway, unless,
It'd be a PIO.
Not approving the subdivision. Subdivision is approved and recorded in Rockville, so we're not talking about an approval of the subdivision.
That's right.
We're talking about the CIP, so whatever.
That's right. I think we understand. So unless somebody wishes to make a motion on this,
all I can say is the motion is as presented there. If someone wants to, make a motion, it would have to be unanimous based on only, 3 members present.
Have this meeting, we're gonna talk to GHD and Paul Sigmund, and to get their recommendations.
that's the primary, and hopefully Wendell too. Wendell's very familiar with this project.
That's
If
all, but it's all,
if there's nothing we can do, then we have to face there's nothing we can do. But if there is something that we can do, it would be best to do it at the time that the builder's building, in conjunction with what he's doing. That's my view. Last time, anybody wanna make this motion? Okay, we'll hold for the next meeting.
I will, put that down as held and on the agenda for the next meeting. Next motion in the motion packet from Water and Sewer Department to allow the Water and Sewer Department to upgrade its current mini excavator by trading it in under the New York State contracts. That trade would include upgrading the mini excavator and having an additional set of hydraulics on the boom. Said cost of upgrade in addition to the trade-in is $9,246 to be split between Water and Sewer Department's 2017 budgets.
I'll go ahead and make the motion.
I'll second it.
Second by Gil. Anything on the question? This is what, 2 years old? So it's a trade every 2 years to keep it in good condition? Anything on the question? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That's approved.
Next motion is as follows. Whereas the 900 of the installation development plan at Niagara Falls Air Reserve Air Station, Niagara Falls, New York, is preparing an environmental assessment. And whereas the town's understanding of the airbase intends to reopen the fueling station for KC-135 tankers, and whereas the town has reviewed the draft description of the proposed action and alternatives, and the town has no opposition or currently any comments, and whereas the town supports the new mission of the 914th Air Reserve Unit, and the town thanks said 914th Air Force Reserve Unit for past, present, and continuing service, now therefore be it resolved, the town of Wheatfield has reviewed the draft description of the proposed action alternatives regarding the implementation of the 914th Air Refueling Wing, has no comments nor concerns. Be it further resolved, the town thanks the 914th Air Force Reserve Unit for its service and issues support for its new proposed mission.
So moved.
A second.
Moved and seconded. I do have that report. If anybody wishes to see the report, you're more than welcome to look at it. That said, anything further on the question? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That is approved.
Next motion is to approve and authorize the town supervisor, Robert B. Cliff, to sign an agreement with Drescher and Malecki Certified Public Accountants, requesting they audit the financial statements of governmental activities, each major fund and the aggregate remaining funds for information for the town of Wheatfield. Said services are estimated to be $17,613 for said audits.
I'd rather not make this motion.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Randy, second by Gil. Ed does a great job preparing the work for Drescher Malecki. Drescher Malecki makes very few, if any, changes at all in the 8 years I've been around. If you notice, the cost is going down, not up, primarily because of that. We budget $22,500 for it. Their quote for this year is $17,613. Anything further on the question? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That's approved.
Next motion is to authorize Robert B. Cliff, supervisor of the town of Wheatfield, to send a letter request to Niagara County to wit, the county manager Richard Updegrove, Public Works Commissioner Gerald, and I know that's
Neil.
but it's not Gerald, I believe it's or whatever it is. I apologize for the error. And the Niagara County Legislature requesting that the county move forward with the repair replacement of the county-owned bridge on Hunt Street in the town of Wheatfield, as the current closure of said bridge is a great inconvenience and detriment to the residents of the town of Wheatfield, and endangers the public health, safety, and welfare of town residents by making town public works services and local fire company services more difficult and onerous to provide. It's requested the Niagara County acknowledge this request by the town of Wheatfield and respond with a plan as how they will undertake the repair replacement of the Hunt Street Bridge.
So moved.
I'll second.
Moved by Gil, second by Randy. Anything on the question? Dave, Jerry Meals' first name, do you know what his first name is? Jerry Meals' first name. Matt's thinking it's not Gerald.
Garrett.
Garrett.
G-A-R-R-E-T.
So Gil, shall we make that change?
Yes.
Randy?
Yes.
Okay, with that change, anything further on the question? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That's approved.
The next motion in the packet was included to clarify for the grant writer information necessary to see about the change of scope for the sidewalk grant. I was informed by him that the previous resolution from last time was sufficient, so that is unnecessary, and I'd ask to omit that in the packet. And that leaves us with final motion that was prepared and mentioned by Wendell. Motion to approve the proposal for evaluating the use of shoulders as pedestrian facilities along Kruger Road and preparation of a map, plan, and report in accordance with Wendell's proposal letter dated June 14th, 2017 for a lump sum fee of $5,000.
Anybody wish to make that motion?
I'll make the motion, but I just want everybody to be aware, if we widen to 4-foot shoulders potentially and make it 30 feet of asphalt, I'm afraid the traffic's maybe gonna speed up, rather, it could be safer, it will be safer, but I'm just worried about the next series of calls about speeders. But I will make the motion to spend the $5,000 to see if the state will help us pay for widening the shoulders.
second on the motion? Do we have a second on the motion? Okay, for a lack of second, this is going to hold off. I still think the sidewalk is the way to go. This would not have passed this evening anyway, and we need to talk a little bit more to Bernie and see what it is that we have to do. Map plan and report makes sense. If we are indeed going to consider widening the road, we're gonna have to do that. Won't happen this evening.
And that is it for the motions I have.
Board member items. Councilman Doucette.
I have some correspondence from Adams Fire Hall. Adams Fire Hall would like to take Joshua Booth, Ashley Gendron, Robert Flauscher, and Kira Meyer and make them active members of their fire hall. And I'll make that motion.
I'll second. Anything on the question? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That's approved. Anything else?
That's all I have.
Randy?
The agricultural group is taking a tour tomorrow to some farms and wineries out in Lockport. So I'm gonna be going. I think some of the people in this audience are going from our group. And the other thing is about the, Mr. Collins said about the awareness of shoulders. You know, there was a lady in the back this, last week that said we have to be aware, and Mr. Collins stated they have to be aware. You know, I went down Eric Road last week, and there were people jogging with a green shirt and a gray shirt on, and it just, I don't know. I think awareness is, and like you say, they have headsets in, and it's just, they don't know what, they've got to do their part too. And I think you're right when you say that, Dave. I know you from high school, so Dave, I think you're right when you say that. And whoever the lady was said she was in Italy, and you got to be aware. And I think that's a pretty significant part of this problem. And that's all I have.
I got a call from Senator Ort's office today having to do with River Road. You'll recall just a few weeks ago there was a person killed on River Road, but it was a little farther down into North Tonawanda. But the senator's had several calls from people in the River Road area, and he's very concerned about the speeds there. The speed on that River Road is 45 miles an hour until you get into the area where there's no people, and then it slows down, which I don't quite understand. He thinks that he would like to see us send in a note to DOT again, to Mr. Masana, and ask if there are other things we can do. If they're not going to slow the road down, is there anything else such as signage, rumble strips, and or other things that they can do to make that a safer road? Because it has a little wider shoulder than Kruger Road, but it also travels at extreme volume, at extreme speeds. There's an awful lot of houses that are on that road that come out directly onto the street. Harry, your house is one of them. And it's a road that needs to be looked at as well. So I would like to propose that we send a letter to DOT asking for another study, and maybe we could mention in there additional signage, question mark, rumble strips, question mark, and anything else that they might think of that might be an improvement to that road. That's a motion.
I'll second.
Moved by me, second by Randy. Anything on that question? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, Matt and I will work on that letter and try and get it out this week.
Bob, I have one other question. When Senator Ort came here with the $75,000, I remember him standing right here or somewhere and saying if we needed more, maybe he could get us more. I think we should, with the lowest bid at $106,000, if you see him as responsible, or should we wait and make sure that they're responsible and they've got everything covered? They are quite low. Okay, maybe in 3 weeks we'll ask for some more money. It can't hurt to ask.
It can't hurt to ask. We said we would be asking, and he understands that we will be asking. He doesn't know if we're going to have additional money till they pass their budget. They won't know.
Okay.
But it's a good idea. Gil, anything? Okay, then we're back to, public input. Well, let's talk about next meeting first. August 7th, 7:30 here. We don't have any preliminaries, so it'd be 7:30 here. And we're back to public input. Anybody that wishes to speak? John, go ahead.
Randy, you had talked about flooding. Were you talking about Fairmont Park?
Yes.
Okay, didn't we just borrow $350-some thousand to meet that grant, and we're still paying on that, and now you're saying that it's flooding because the engineer didn't do a good job?
They followed the contour of the ground. I guess I just would have hoped that it would have cost us more money, but I guess I was just disappointed when I tried to go to watch a softball game and there was 2 inches of water in the path.
And who was the engineer?
That was Hatch McDonald, I believe.
Okay. Well, I'm just saying we borrowed to meet that grant. People did not know we borrowed $350,000, and I think we have 4 more years to pay off on that. 3 more years.
It'll take a lot longer than that.
Okay. So we borrowed that without people's permission, and now you're saying it's not correct? I just want to bring up about Wendell, too. We already paid Wendell $3,200 to walk up and down our street to say which side to put that sidewalk on. He chose the water line side, which Mr. Rotella said that was not the appropriate side to put that sidewalk on anyway, but we all went with Wendell because that was it. Now you're going to pay him $5,000 to go up and down our street again and maybe put in shoulders. Randy, last week when we talked, you said we would put in shoulders 5 to 7 feet wide like Niagara Road. Now you're saying 4 feet.
I did not say 5 to 7 feet.
You brought up Niagara Road, and I measured Niagara Road, and you said 7 feet. I think they're between 5 and 7 feet, because I went and measured a long time ago in 2015. But now you're saying they're going to go down to 4 foot.
4 foot on Kruger Road, yes.
Why would you cut it down to 4 foot when we have over 1,000 cars on our road in less than 24-hour period with 800 cars speeding? Why would you mark it down to 4 foot?
I think 4 feet would do what we were trying to accomplish here.
I think we should have did a road report to see how many cars are going up and down that street instead of using an 8th grader's report. And then you could have counted the cars besides seeing who was speeding to see how dangerous our road is. Mr. Cliff, you sat on it. You sat on my front porch how many times? You saw it. You know what I'm talking about. So putting 4 foot, I know if you're going to put in the grants, you're going to ask Mr. Rotella to put in for 4 foot wide shoulders. That doesn't make sense. That's not safe. Minimum. Plus, they were also going to do some safety things. I was hoping for crosswalk lines, maybe an additional sign with a pedestrian showing it's a stop sign there. I was hoping all that was going to come about. Just for safety, that's all. I'm thinking of Mikey. And I wish you guys would think of him too. And he's one of your volunteer firefighters. I see him every day.
Thank you, Debbie.
Go ahead, please. Okay, we're not going to banter back and forth. Sue, if you want to come up and make a comment, that would be the better bet.
What it all goes back to is is safety reasons yourself and being taught how to walk on a street and what to do. I do not believe, and I'll say this, and I know we're disagreeing on this, Mr. Cliff, but I do not believe there needs to be sidewalks there. Maybe if we do enlarge the, what is it called, the shoulder of the road, that might be fine. Is it going to decrease or increase speeding? I'm not sure. I go down that road, sometimes it is so slow, there's someone in front of me that's going so slow, you think that they're looking for a house number to go to. Other times you go down there, and it's lickety-split. But the same thing happens on Shawnee, the same thing happens on Ward Road, the same thing happens on every road, not even major roads. Let's go into subdivisions. This weekend, I was at garage sales at a subdivision down on Shawnee, off of Shawnee. The cars were going so lickety-split through there, they'll be in asking for sidewalks now. I mean, we just can't do this. You know, you're concerned about the extra money that we're going to be spending to Wendell to do a study. What about all the money of all the other people? They're going to want all the subdivisions to have sidewalks in it. Gary's here. Does he want, or do people in his subdivisions want sidewalks? I wouldn't. That's all I have to say. And I think that I think we've got to bring this to a halt, to an end. It's over. The poor boy lost his life. No one hurts more for someone that's lost their life than someone who has lost a child. I know that firsthand, okay? But you can't bring that child back, and a sidewalk's not going to bring that child back. But common sense can help other children. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
And I would like to just add one more thing. I'm a retired special ed teacher, and there are a lot of special needs kids coming up, and you don't know how many kids are coming up, a lot. And we should be able to provide them a safe environment to hang out in their neighborhoods and go to the playground and have fun. You allowed Mikey to become a volunteer firefighter. How is he to get down there? You heard his mom. He's a man. He doesn't want her driving him. This could happen to us. I could be in a wheelchair tomorrow and have a stroke. Could I get to Pelicanos? Could I get anywhere in my wheelchair because I have no way to get down to the store? No. So you people better start thinking about the ADA compliance that needs to be in Wheatfield, because it needs to be there. You spent $350,000 to make that ADA compliant in Fairmont Park, and now you're telling me you can't even walk through it. How's a wheelchair going to get through it if there's water on it? And you made that. You borrowed that money, the $350,000, to meet that grant, to make that ADA compliant. Correct?
Correct.
So now we need to think of all the special needs people, not the kids, not just the kids, the elderly. We have people in our road in wheelchairs. Don't you think they'd like to get out and about in their neighborhood a little bit? And it's coming. It's coming to all of us because we're getting older. And we should respect the people who who can't speak for themselves. We need to speak for them. We need to protect them. We need to provide the support. We need to allow them to live.
Thank you, Dave. Dave, you didn't say anything before. You got anything going on from the county? Are you aware of the Hunt Street Bridge situation? Do you know where it is? You might want to familiarize yourself a little bit because it's a fair ride to come down Cayuga to the end and have to turn around and go all the way back if there's a turnaround. If there's a turnaround, right now there's nowhere to turn around.
Bob, with all due respect, that's not true. That is not, the problem in this town isn't, there's nobody that I know of that's complaining about the bridge. The complaint is.
I've gotten complaints.
Well, maybe you have. I mean, I know all the neighbors. I haven't seen it, but looking for an address to the situation. I want to see what the town's consensus is on the problem before it's all helter-skelter about solving it. It should have never gotten to this point.
Nobody wants to be helter-skelter. What we're looking for is that the county takes a look at it. Right now, it's somewhere at the very, very bottom of their list. We're trying to get it up a little bit.
Objecting to the fact that the town is telling everybody it's such a nuisance, because I don't get that opinion. I mean, I just want a common sense approach. I don't want a bridge to nowhere that costs millions of dollars.
If you're driving a plow truck, a big plow truck down there, if you're driving a school bus and you have to back out, if you're driving modern truck, the size of those modern trucks. They have to back all the way back down to be able to do their job.
I agree.
That's
It
the
needs to
problem.
be addressed.
That's the problem.
But I don't want the problem going down is that that I want a common sense approach to the problem.
What I think I'm looking for, I can't speak for anybody else, but what I'm looking for is that the county address it. It needs to get a higher priority than sitting at the bottom of the pile. Dave, you had your hand up? Right. Correct. Unless we have we'd have to use the county's property at the end of the property and build a turnaround in that property. A cul-de-sac, if you would, which is sort of an ugly word around here. Okay, anything else from anybody? Yes, Sean?
I have, a utility pole in my yard that was struck by lightning. National Grid came out and moved their gear, put a new pole next to the old pole, broke off and collapsed. Frontier Cable has never moved their gear. I've been working on this problem for a year. Frontier doesn't seem interested in moving their gear, so I'm stuck with two telephone poles in the same hole, roped together, one's burned off. And the only reason I'm bringing the town is because my last phone call to National Grid, they said you should talk to your town and complain about Frontier. So, I don't know what else to do besides to see if anybody's run into this problem on the board or can be of any help in this situation. The town's kind of frustrated, it seems like. I don't know where else to go with it. It's been 10 years.
I see it a lot. They don't want to spend the money to get off their pole, to get an easement, to get on a new pole, to transfer the easement. And I know what I see it a lot. And it's all about money. Can we ask them to get off that old pole and get it out of there?
It's kind of odd that they have asked me to ask the town about National Grid Frontier contract, but that's kind of stuff. I just wondered if it's ever been tackled before that.
I'm not familiar with that issue. I've certainly dealt with National Grid many times. I don't remember I've ever talking to Frontier.
Yes, Frontier don't want to spend the money to get on a new pole.
Well, Grid has a contract with Frontier, but their contract ended notifying them to move their gear.
I would think, but I don't know. Frontier is generally, the poles belong mostly to Verizon, if I'm not mistaken.
Pole is probably owned by National Grid, and Frontier gets an easement to get on the pole.
And all that process is going to be changing a lot in the next 10 years because the electric companies are going to be stopping owning poles. So that's all going to change. What they're starting to do in parts of the state is they're actually starting to donate them back to the towns, back to the municipalities for free. Instead of selling them back, they're just, here, we're gracious enough, you're now in charge. That could happen. Okay, if nothing else, then yes. Go ahead. Can you come to the mic, please, so we can all hear?
With the decision on Kruger Road last week and the change from sidewalks to a wider shoulder or potentially going to a wider shoulder, what's going to happen with the effort to fix the sewer problems, the water flooding issues that we were having that was going to be wrapped into the sidewalk?
We're still working on Wilrose Court. That's a challenge. We're talking about buying a piece of property there so we can maintain our site and the exit, the Hall Road, if you will, going out. We do hope to recover some of the money off of that by selling a portion of that property. I don't know much going on Kruger Road now. Paul sometimes does things that I'm not aware of. Jamie might be aware of them.
I know when
the only issue there would be covering up the material that you use to level off the pipe. Oh, yes, okay.
Right, almost
Replacing some of the
$400,000
okay.
was
Right.
used for the sewer.
That's a good question, and I don't have an answer at
Will
this
that
point.
be put into the new?
I just know that when, the councilman went down the street and they were advising about the costs and the things that were involved, they mentioned that a lot of the pipes were very aged and had issues and that they should be replaced. So if they really are in disrepair, it seems like something that we should be looking at.
Pipes have a way of telling you they're in disrepair.
Mhm.
That's what was included in the grant.
Well,
To replace it.
didn't you mention grates were like sinking into the ground?
And when it rains now, the grates are actually lifting up and moving.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Moved and seconded, all in favor? Aye. Aye.